Schmungus is probably the most target bannable team in the entire tournament, to be honest, apart from maybe Queequeg. But they're far from one tricks. Necros does enjoy playing a little bit many melee characters. Like you can leave open. Oh, hello, Schmungus already. Banning out the Adam Warlock makes sense. They don't want to deal with all of those resurrections. And Venom's going to be banned on the other side. Yep, it's going to be Andrew who gets target banned this time around.
Yeah, so sadly not going to be able to pull out the comfort that he was looking for. And also sad to see Adam off the table. Would be cool to get, you know, that Guardians team up at some point in the day. But now it's going to be about what Appa Brawl wants to keep on the board. Just deciding they want the Namor. Makes sense when you're facing a team who can play a lot of melee, can play a lot of dive, wanting to have those squids there to back yourself up.
Makes a lot of sense. Especially wanting to find that slow squid. Yep, speaking of which, no frozen spawn this time. Luna off the table. This is probably how basically every draft is going to go, going up against Schmungus, because the Venom ban's like it's like double value, right? Not only do you get Andrew off his most comfortable character, but you also deny the potential for that team-up ability from Necros on the Spider-Man. So the Spider-Man not banned, but we're unlikely to see it anyway, because his lethality is considerably reduced without a Namor on the field.
Yep, definitely way down. We're still gonna see some interesting picks come out though from Schmungus, getting the Hulk coming through on the table. Also, Cloak and Dagger from both sides, a pick that really has fallen off. It feels like at the very upper echelons of play with the Luna taken off the board, though. We are going to see it come through. Going to give a lot of aggressive pushing power with that ultimate.
And we're going to be starting off here on the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda domination map. I remember that ultimates do persist between rounds, so long-term economic planning can be as much of a asset as other fight plans for this particular matchup. You can see that currently Lababoon is doing their best to see through the wall using that passive of Punisher to see what Schmungus are currently preparing.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get a read on what they're going for. I'm going to be really curious to see, especially now that we have the Wolverine being swapped into, if Olgar on the Hulk is going to really be able to find any impact. It's going to be a lot about these flanks, a lot about trying to displace the tank. And hell, we had a great Wolverine performance last game leg day, so it's going to be a lot to follow up on.
Yeah, high expectations here of the Wolverine. Triple Vanguard from Schmungus, a lot of staying power, as well as, of course, the cleaving heal of the Invisible Woman. Going to give him a lot of staying power. Gonna be, oh wow, nice spit coming through. A radioactive lockout onto Emil, making sure that that particular matchup is going to be cancelled. Yancy Trance knocks him a couple of players, but of course, going into a fellow as well. Going up against Triple Vanguard, by the way, as Thing, a little bit of a dream. So much cleave to find right here. Gian doing their best to dodge away from incoming damage of the Hulk before turning it back upon them. A Dark Maelstrom to be unleashed upon the enemy should get through them in record time as Boga is clobbered.
Yeah, great play coming from Appa Brawl. You said it. The Thing loving playing up against Triple Vanguard, getting so much value out of those hitboxes with the right click. The Wolverine we also saw in there in the fray. Now, for Schmungus, gonna have to try and force their way back in through this tiny choke.
Attempted a hook. Barney Cook only gets a stun in place there, of course, due to the immunity of displacement given over to the Thing at all times from his passive. An attempt to the grab. Oh, it's actually going to be the second one coming through. It works out. KG by the Trooper's fist taken down. This is a very desperate play here from Andrew. I'm going to say a bad read.
Yeah, looking for the play after you already see your Cloak and Dagger getting picked off. We only need a few ultimates, hell, only one ultimate to come through from the Invisible Woman, putting down that invisible boundary to completely shut down Schmungus' efforts.
All right, new tactic coming in here from Schmungus, though. A couple of heroes swapped around, 4, I believe, in fact, when all is said and done. Ebola Granola meets their end right here. Finally, Ebola prevention. It has been funded properly. Gian off the map, courtesy of Jinbo. None of them's going to be back in good time here. An attempt to try and shut down the Eternal Bomb, but it's a play too wide from Boga. Unable to get the direct connection. Emil jumps into the invisible boundary and finds himself a victim in the form of Andrew, who's wondering, why was I there? And while D-Sly is up top, able to put down a little bit of additional healing with the help of KG. This might be too far gone already. It's a big investment coming through from the clobbering time. D-Sly looking for a big drop-off, and Lababoon just set himself up for that one. An interruption on the eye of Agamotto from Jimbo with the fast reaction speed of Logan. And Appa Brawl, they're going to be taken off the point.
Yeah, crazy fight to get us there. Like you said, Schmungus changing up a lot of their composition, bringing out the Wolverine and the Hela. A lot of chaos. It looked like things almost went back in the favor of Apple Brawl when Average Emil got in the middle of the fight, but still, they were too disconnected, too split up. Jimbo doing a great job, and now it's their turn to try to force in through this line coming out from the Cloak and Dagger.
No ults remain here for the side of Schmungus. 2 players stunned by the clobbering time. Neither of them finished though. Lababoon, different plans, sees D-Sly. Andrew next, but actually, it goes awry. The Kraken impact does not go where Lababoon wanted. Now it's going to be down to a raw mechanical duel. Andrew catches a headshot off the back of Rotter Stern. And that's the end of Hela for now. She joins herself in her own domain. Handshake of themselves emoji. And Schmungus.
Oh no.
Desperate times.
Yeah, KG looks like might get picked off right now themselves with Granola chasing them down, but Lababoon didn't even matter if those 2 Kraken impacts didn't hit. He's doing well with just the aim. Goes in. Portal comes through though, leg day.
Passive already burned, vulnerable in places. The Thing just jumping around as best they can. Lababoon once again a victim with the force physics. That's a very aggressive play coming through from the Doctor Strange. Floats through the opposing portal just to put some pressure on the spawn. Maybe another force physics knockoff. Could try and turn this one around as KG falls super low, down to only 1 HP. The healing's there, courtesy of E-Sly. Jimbo's going to add to the complications here as the Dark Maelstrom is too much for Migu to handle. And what a retake coming off of Bogus Portal.
Yeah, huge. They're able to split them up, coming right in the middle of the point, so you really can't find great positions as Apple Brawl got it all the way to 99%. Schmungus, though, not going to be able to start building up that point themselves. Not going to let Apple Brawl get close. Apple Brawl taking an interesting way back onto the point.
Some good rooting here. Just trying to get Lababoon into a safer place up on the high ground. An early throw here potentially. Ebola Granola going to be in battle. Leap 2 after. Oh, double stun to 2 duelists. Average Emil getting real value out of that one. Agamotto, I didn't see him getting anything there from Gian. Nigo on the other side. They're taken out by Bogus. Return ultimate coming through. Boga might have managed to grab enough here. Yeah, that's going to be a Kraken impact here, but Lababoon desperately to try and find the culling reset. That's going to be 1, and here it comes in again. Boga's going to try and block the incoming damage. 3 versus 1. Lababoon is such a valuable target right now, and the Dark Maelstrom is levied onto them to try and get rid of them in the midst of all this. A last second recontest coming through from Gian.
Yeah, gonna portal in now. We're gonna see them trying to make their way through, but Invisible Woman pushes them back.
No ult, too much to handle potentially. Lababoon desperately wants in onto this Invisible Woman. D-Sly taken down by the blast of Barrage. Already 4 frags coming through. Schmungus have fallen apart. They must have expected where Gian was going to come from, and yet there was no one there to stop it. Schmungus, they're just going to have to save this last stand for the next battle, I imagine, as Boga's Portal still going to be on cooldown.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that Jimbo didn't pop that ult. He had it up when they were still trying to portal onto the point. And I gotta say, like day, you said the health crisis was averted, but granola sales are through the roof, my friend. Granola stonks are up.
Invest in granola. Bye, bye, bye.
Exactly. Overall, though, it is kind of nice to see because it did feel like they kind of dropped the ball at the end, Apple Brawl. If that Eye of Agamotto had been able to connect, it really feels like that's where they could have been able to seal a deal. Wasn't able to find anything. Luckily, did bring themselves to that second chance. And now here we are, going to move on to the second point. Schmungus. I mean, hell, this time now they're starting on the Hela, they're starting on the Wolverine. We saw good stuff from them when they made those changes. So now that they could start with their front foot forward, hopefully Schmungus can bring it back.
Yeah, Schmungus were having some issues early on. Their triple Vanguard was so thoroughly shut down by Emil's Thing. The piercing on that Stone Haymaker means you could just get oodles and oodles of ult charge from looking at 3 stacked up players and going, oh yeah, I'll take them all actually. I'll take every single one of them. Just doesn't matter to me.
Moots does have ultimate into this round. Jimbo bringing his as Wolverine as well. We're pretty close to a couple other players picking up ultimate, so it's going to be really interesting to see who's willing to invest to get way onto the point. Already seeing Laboon taking a bit of damage, though.
Lucas already invested the portal here, just to try and get some forward positioning. Andrew's going to have to get some real value out of this with a big cooldown that was invested to try and get them access to that high ground. EMEA just using the anti-street charge to set themselves up on the point, also shutting down movement abilities for all of those who are within that. In comes Ebola Granola's own player, actually grabbed by Jimbo Limbo. Nice clobbering time, both KG and Jimbo grabbed by this D-Slide. Can't concentrate on Andrew, but both of those players are stunned. And now, caught in place by anti-street charge, Ebola Granola has their chance to get in onto Boga. The percentage damage onto these Vanguards is brutal for the Wolverine.
Yeah, it's looking huge. We're seeing now them running them down. Granola, even going to be able to find 1v1 up against Necros if he can chase him. Does manage to get away for now, but ends up securing the kill. And once again, Appa Brawl coming out stronger a lot because not only their Vanguard duo, but also what Ebola Granola is able to do on the Wolverine.
Yeah, the Wolverine value really can be a big difference maker. And both these teams
we have a Namor
heavily on their Doctor Strange's vulnerable window placed onto this. Yeah, the Namor change might be a lot. That's going to be a big stun coming through onto the thing. Counter damage before, though, turning around to try and block the incoming eye of Agamotto. And the clobbering time as well. It's a big peel coming through from Necros. The read where's I have to invest this defensively rather than try and make it into a big play, because in the end, the biggest play is having your strategist survive.
Exactly, huge. Yancey street charges there coming out from Necros, really setting up for a lot of the return play. Great ults too from Bogor. And now we're going to see if the Namor from Jimbo is going to be able to find more value than the Wolverine. Getting some nice headshots there, and once again, that fist going to do so much to close out this small choke point.
Why Andrew ready to go with the Galactic Legend. If it's going to be off, that's a huge window coming through as well. Lots of vulnerable damage onto these Vanguards. This engagement might be difficult. Nice play off the back of the Horn of Proteus. And the Cloak and Dagger, they can't put it down in time. It's a nice knock away coming through. Clobbering time as well from Average Meal. But Andrew thinks that this one's an opening. Finds like a boon in the midst of all of this. Yeah, some shields have been brought on up, but they can't be facing upwards forever. Instead, you have to worry about those down on the ground. It's a multi-pronged assault from Schmungus, and they're holding strong for now.
Yeah, making it so hard for them to place their crosshairs. Where do we aim? Up in the sky at the Star-Lord, at Jimbo, who's just nailing them down with the Namor, and now using that shield to make sure that Appa Brawl can't find their way back in. They do have two ultimates up, Invisible Boundary there for Migu 2K.
The times, they are a clobbering. Big damage onto that Vanguard backline. Guardian Shield is raised, and Gian might be able to wrap around the back here. It's multiple on the site once again. Pincer maneuver, someone's been reading their Sun Tzu. Lababoon, though, can't really concentrate that damage until finding D-Slide at the end. Inside the healing bubble. Oh, taken out in midair by Jimbo. A well-placed trident when it was needed the most. And now Migu just going to partner up with their fellow strategists there to try and survive. The cleave of those force projectiles is so brutal in these totally packed fights.
Yeah, gonna keep it trying to find one on the Jimbo, who should go down here, but are we gonna see a Namor? Not okay. Does go down. I got scared after the 1v2 we saw earlier leg day. Still got some nice ults up for Appa Brawl. Honestly, a big thing in that fight was them being able to clinch on the position of Schmungus, get behind them. Even if Lababoon did go down, it did get them on the point. Very close, very contested.
Thoroughly coming through, big value off the haymakers here. Already one down, the blaster barrage just doing so much damage. Lababoon can't even escape from this. It's a great LOS to have. Jiang gonna try and turn it around. Two players stunned up by the Eye of Agamotto, and yes, it will take down D-Slide, but unfortunately the remainder of your team have been evaporated, decimated, demolished, and distracted by the assault happening in the back.
All of it coming from Y Andrew. Jimbo didn't find anyone with the Horn of Proteus, but it meant that the rest of Appa Brawl couldn't back up, and it really just gave Y Andrew so much room on that Intergalactic Legend to find picks. Now we can see Bogor just going to be an annoyance on the other side. 93% Appa Brawl's last chance.
Andrew's going to be able to bring out the blast barrage real early this time, and yet the concentration of damage too much for Moods to deal with. Jimbo with a well-placed headshot. This one should be a turnaround here for Schmungus, but some real shenanigans as two players have already fallen from the side of Appa Brawl. With the invisible boundary up, yeah, there's some staying power, but you can't stand up to Necros for that long. And in battle, Leap gives over some damage reduction and gives safety over to those strategists to get involved in the brawl. Schmungus are finding everything they want, and they're touch more, surrounding and destroying the thing like a pack of piranhas. It's a crunchy mouthful, but it's still fulfilling. It's like granola.
Exactly, you know, right after saying the stonks are up, going right back down. Nice to see Schmungus be able to bring it back. A lot more comfort coming through. Great play on the thing. Honestly, from both sides, right? We've seen both teams play great the thing between map 1 and map 2. So it's nice to see us this time around go the distance to the 3rd point. Schmungus gonna have a bit of momentum with that Meteor M still being carried over from the last round.
I think Andrew has finally found their hero here as well as Star-Lord, who's really been entering a professional meta over the last, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
We really saw, even outside of Adam Warlock, where that Cocoon revival has really given a lot of legs to the Star-Lord. A lot of players picking this up just because the versatility of Star-Lord as a duelist as well, being able to both try and find those assassinations and get kill secures off the back of Blaster Barrage and put a lot of pressure onto Vanguards, utilizing their just regular element guns as well. You can put down so much damage on something like a thing that doesn't have much in the way of easy mitigation.
Yeah, it felt like if you were watching Marvel Rivals Esports about a month and a half ago, you were seeing a lot of Storm, and Storm really being replaced with the Star-Lord, like you said. But speaking of replaced, this time around, Granola gonna be on the Psylocke, see if he can try and find some flanks of himself and put a lot of pressure on that Namor. Of course, doesn't have the Luna since that one was banned out, so no Icy Squid to try to make sure those flanks aren't a problem.
After meal, surrounded for a moment, but yes, you charge, gets him out of there. Too sweet. As Jimbo identified on the off angle, maybe going to be trying forced out here by the Vanguard positioning. Actually going to be an attempt at last second contest, but Schmungus actually grabbed the mission area. Big play off the back of the, oh, hello, Andrew going up to the sky. I don't even know what happened to Migo. I don't recognize that part of the kill. I don't recognize that part of the frag feed. I don't know what it means. In the end, though, Schmungus, they grabbed the point.
I think he was taken down by Lapaboon, but sadly, right when you started to see all those ults come out, like nothing able to follow up. Necros using clobbering time too, but Apple Brawl starting off at the point, still having 2 ults for themselves. Oh, not having the point, I'm sorry. Trying to make their way into the point.
They can dream of such things, but Necros Glazer says absolutely not. The Ancestry charge for shoulder check itself is a check too many for Moots, who falls on down to that. Appa Brawl, though, they are coming out towards a considerable ultimate bank.
I'm opening a portal.
Yeah, everything except the Horn of Proteus and clobbering time online. Portal is going to come through, so they're finally going to be able to try to find their way on the point and might even have an advantageous position if Schmungus don't get here quick enough.
Oh, attempt to try and cut off. The player's going to stuck behind that. It's an interesting play here. Necros Glazer going in onto the backline. The cleave is too much to bear. Moots are now going to be taken on down, and Gian the same. What a crunch coming through from Schmungus. And it was an interesting portal attempt coming through as well.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm kind of curious to what Apple Brawl were hoping to happen there, but really nice by Schmungus to reposition, really cut off any agency on either side of the portal. Now at 85%, you still have some ults to work with. Both support ults are online, so they should be able to make their way to the point, but if you have to waste your ults for that, that's exactly what Schmungus wants.
And the all stuck in place for a moment. Clobbering time stuns up a pair, and a huge amount of damage is levied onto Migu, who can't make their way over to a point, even with that invisible boundary active. Emil put down onto the floor. The frag is secured as why Andrew overhead has quite the amazing view of the victory Schmungus have earned themselves here on the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda. Map 1 goes their way.
Crazy too. Point 1 went the way of Apple Brawl, but it was close. Point 2 again goes to Schmungus, but very close. This 3rd point was the most decisive one we saw, with Schmungus really giving them no breath into that match. We are gonna see another chance come out from Apple Brawl to try to pick up a map, and especially with how close this first map was. It really feels like it could go either way, but the fan favorites pull through, leg day.
Yeah, fan favorites doing well here. Schmungus definitely living up to the expectations that have been placed upon them. I feel like they definitely found out how they were going to play this matchup as well. The Star-Lord, I think, was a huge pickup for Andrew, who most people know is a Venom player, but still has that raw mechanical tracking that is necessary to excel on the hero. And honestly, this could be a thing where maybe we see a ban towards it. Maybe we allow the Loki to get through and we try and make sure that Andrew's hero pool is a bit more constrained potentially, or it depends if we're comfortable going Starlord on Starlord, because it's a difficult thing to go up against when you don't want to match it with your own Starlord. He's very evasive, especially with a stellar shift on the right click, giving him some iframes. Appa Brawl, they have ideas here, but also they're a bit of a lower team in general when it comes to the overall ranks, so we're not expecting a huge amount from them.
No, not expecting a huge amount from them, but it would be good if they can bring that online. We do have highlights coming from that last match, so let's take a look at how Schmungus was able to take that first win.
It's a Schmungus event here for Marvel Rivals Championship in EMEA. 1-0 up in the lower bracket going up against Appa Brawl. But there's always another chance, Lyric. Well, not actually here in the lower bracket. There's one more chance when it comes to these maps. And can Appa Brawl fix their draft to try and get an advantage over Schmungus?
I will say at least both teams looked adaptable in that first map. You know, both were changing up their comp consistently. Schmungus were the ones who figured out the identity, figured out the keys they needed to win, swapping over the Wolverine themselves at first. And, we ended up on the Star-Lord for Y Andrew, which ended up having a lot of success. The Namor as well, even without the Luna. But it is time to jump into that second map. Are going to be in Midtown. And like you said, with how specialized some of the players are, I would expect to see similar bands come out. And there it is, the Venom once again.
All right, yep. Once again, trying to keep my boy Andrew down. And for now, they will be able to succeed. We'll actually see a first protect here from Schmungus as well. It's going to be Adam Warlock. Band once again, trying to keep that res comp out of this lobby. They want to make sure that every time they get a frag, it's a real frag. No pretending. No backsies, no seconds, no psychs, and no inner reverses.
I got to say, that actually has... I've not been surprised how many times we see the Adam Warlock comp banned out, but I'm surprised that we don't see more teams lean into it, because like you just pointed out, it is just so annoying with how many fake outs it does have. Speaking of fake outs, though, the Wolverine gonna be picked protected, so we'll see if either team ends up starting off with that one, or if it just ends up being a bit of a deterrent, which is, I feel like, how we usually see Wolverine protects end up being as the map plays out.
Okay, we try and drop the Namor here. Maybe an assault on Jimbo. Jimbo can, as far as I'm aware, also play both the Hela and the Star-Lord. Wonder if we're going to maybe ban... Oh, it's going to be the Loki ban coming through from Schmungus. I think previously that was Appa Brawl's ban, but I may be misremembering. It's going to allow KG to swap over onto the Luna Snow. Oh, yeah, we actually had Schmungus banning Luna last time, because there was a Namor protect from Appa Brawl. And once again, Logan's going to be a potential feature off the back of that protect.
Yeah, and we're going to see what they end up going with this time. Right now having Punisher locked in, but maybe, like you said, just wanting to scout out those positions once the map does start. It looks like for the side of Apple Brawl, gonna settle on, you know, things that were finding success last game, like the Star-Lord, even if it was for the opposing side. This time around, we're going to get Winter Soldier in the fold, though. So, you know, you said it earlier. I feel like we're going to say it every time, but that really is going to be the defining pick, especially if we can see any hooks coming through.
Yeah, the clock is determined not by clobbering time, but by when he shouts about being armed and dangerous. Ebola Granola going up against Jimbo on that, and could be a big difference maker here between Schmungus and Appa Brawl as to the deployment of the unlimited ammo from Necros Glazer here, really allowing Andrew and Jimbo to have these massive burst phases against any unprepared Vanguard.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to see actually sticking with the picks. Also love Rocket coming out in a lot of these early fights. Gives your tank a little bit more wiggle room that they can play with, knowing they have that BRB in the background. And we could see that coming through with Bogart's positioning, but Lababoon finds Andrew.
Yes, somehow managing to catch Andrew by surprise, as that BRB you mentioned earlier. The Latitude has been leveraged by the Punisher this time, as Bogart's taking a bunch of damage. Lababoon in towards the back does have eyes on the D-Sly, but you can't underestimate the damage that Invisible Woman's going to bring out. Nice quick draw up of the magnetic curtain to stop Bogart from getting themselves hooked in. The Guardian Shield comes through as well. Surrounded, however, by other Vanguard, Bogart has to cede away this space, because you're a very mono-directional defensive hero. That's a Magneto. Pulled in, Trooper's Fist, not delivered this time, so Bogart's going to mostly escape unscathed, but look at this. The Vanguards have moved past him onto the back line. Bogart kind of surrounded right now, and it's going to require some triage from the strategists.
Necros coming out, is throwing out the infinite ammo. Kraken, Impact not going to be able to find anything, but still, Granola does find one.
Not a lot of those strategist ults does mean, but one of the Lunas is going to be sticking on that damage boost to try and make things happen. Necros Glazer puts down their BRB and the Seer as well. In towards the back, Ebola Granola would love to try and find something off the back of this. The legendary, that seems a little bit ambitious actually. It's going to draw out the invisible boundary. Yes, Bogart's dragged from the invisible boundary. It's going to be the Meteor M, almost fully charged directly on top of Cages. Quite the dunk coming through from the average Emil. Might well be a Poggers Emil if I've got something to say about it. Andrew looking for something off the back of the AR. Out comes the infinite ammo. This is very dangerous for the Vanguard. They're finding it out the hard way. The shielding's not nearly enough. But Blaster Barrage is getting stuff done with that AoE damage. Jimbo Limbo would be quite the prize though if Lababoon can manage to find it. Out comes the Barney Cook. I think it's going to be missing for now. The same going to be happening through from Ebola Granola. An exchange of Trooper's Fist just redoes the positioning again and again. Lababoon picked out of the air, and Appa Brawl finally ran out of steam.
Yeah, honestly, like that was so much chaos. Ooh, another Bionic Hook does come in. Almost tries to pick onto the Luna. Kraken Impact does get the first.
That felt personal.
That did feel personal. Not gonna be able to find anything else with it. Potentially.
Oh,
Nope.
it'd be ambitious. Jimbo does not want to cede away the good positioning that Schmungus have to try and get a bit more greedy with that ult.
And that fight was such chaos. Like you said, Star-Lord's flying one way, Winter Soldier's the other. We're in a wide open area for now, though, so it is going to be quite hard for Apple Brawl, quite hard for Schmungus to really lock down any tight corridors. We're going to see here if the Eye of Agamotto from Gian can find anything. The Punish roll.
Last Judgment brought on up. Oh man, the concentration of damage is so large though. Meteor M drags out a huge amount of damage from the Galactic Legend. And Bogart's writing a legend of his own right now. Back into the unlimited ammo. Andrew drags out. Yeah. Your healing means nothing in the face of the rapid fire shotgun. It's just frag after frag. Andrew showing exactly what they did with that Walmart gift card.
Yeah, huge coming out from Schmungus. And even now, Granola does manage to get back out, but even gets a cheeky turnaround on a Necros, feeling like he was safe. This might be their time. No BRB to bring any reses up on the table.
Cracking impact. Good to go. Boga at the moment is a little bit isolated, though. Has to disengage the remainder of the team. For now, Schmungus are just going to wait in these positions and hope for potentially a recontest to come on through. Jan gets dragged in, I believe, by a Bionic Cook, and that forced out the flank to try and turn this one around. It's going to be going up to the end. Ebola Granola coming in. Oh, nice! Big play with the Eye of Agamotto. However, the follow-up's not there. Gian did not have enough charge on the immediacy with the Dark Maelstrom. Was unable to find those final blows. Moot's under pressure here, but Jimbo just went too far. And it seems like the Shrines just weren't able to keep up with such an aggressive play. Yeah, there's going to be a resurrection, but there's going to be no chance to try and chain together those cracking impact hits. Like Baboon in towards the end. Lobola Granola going to be the one falling down as well. And here we are with the raw damage coming through from Andrew. The tracking here is going to make it so it's impossible to survive. Jan's only just got here. Galactic Legend in towards the back, but KG shuts it down. The aimer in him is awakened as Jimbo Limbo, with a bottomless clip and a smile on his face, is able to absolutely tear through all and sundry. Rotterdam is feasting, and so too is the Luna. It's that experimental cuisine, the type that comes on ice from the fancy restaurants. And let me tell you, Schmungus are eating good.
Great play coming out, especially from the Luna. Love the Punisher too. Hell, we saw, a few times kills coming out either right on the cusp of a Fate of Both Worlds or when he had the shotgun. Taking out another there. Really fun stuff from Schmungus in that first half of the map. And now it's going to be about Appa Brawl being able to hold up that defense of their own.
It's some good decision making, honestly. I'm not sure how we saw Gian get a double stun onto both Andrew and Jimbo. Wasn't able to finish either of them off. Maybe just a slight dropping of the ball when it came to building up enough charge on that Dark Maelstrom for the one tap. Maybe just saw an opening. Thought, you know what? I'll just try and make it happen.
Yeah.
Regular style. Was answered by a strategist ult though. Didn't have the burst, so ended up just overextending into two players instead of stunning two.
I was a bit scared for Schmungus once the Meteor M didn't connect, though, that might then be their time to follow back in. But luckily, we're able to keep following up on the fight. Now, Schmungus, we'll see if Jimbo actually does end up sticking to the Spider-Man.
A tribute to Necros, potentially.
Yeah.
Sensei. What? Just once. Let me use my full power.
Sadly today, not for the Sensei. Clearly showing, they still need to take it seriously going up against Appa Brawl, who actually aren't going to come up with their own strat. They're just going to rip Schmungus' strat right out of the book.
I'll be taking that. Don't mind me. Hey, we can play those heroes. Necros, Glazer. Maybe getting a little bit too antsy there. A little bit too quirky on the engage. Take it out early. Yeah, that unlimited ammo. It is brutal to try and stand up to, especially with the solo Vanguard. Boga runs out of magnetic curtain charge real fast. And, well, there's going to be a little bit of cart movement, but back to square one.
Yeah, Appa Brawl maybe kicking themselves for not making a change like this sooner, though it is going to be Schmungus' time to answer. Jimbo trying to unload onto Gian on the rocket, not finding anything just yet.
Oh, nice play off the back of the Bionic Hook. Jimbo just knocks back into the unlimited ammo here. This is going to be Average Emil in major danger as Necros is actually putting out a significant amount of DPS here. Finds the final hit onto Average Emil. It's a surprising amount of damage from the rocket if you are going to try and go for it. Ebola Guerrero, I think, tried to put up a zip line, but unfortunately, you don't have the building permits for that. This is New York blood.
I just love seeing Necros running them down with the machine gun, not even really popping the heals, not needed. And now we look at Schmungus cracking impact online. You're getting really close to Punisher and Magneto's Meteor M as well.
Well, Gian trying their best to make a cheeky approach towards the car. He is so close to the goal. And finally, it's going to be reached here by the Cloak and Dagger, pulled out of their ultimate, though. A perfect combo from Jimbo. No semblance of mercy remains as Gian just does their best to try and heal through all of this. It might actually turn into a reset here for Jimbo, but having already fallen down, it's going to be difficult to try and turn this one around. Lababoon going to do their best to make something happen as Necros Glazer has themselves some additional damage. The Cosmic Yarn Amplifier, the boy's crocheting and knitting, and he's weaving on the strands of fate of victory for Schmungus.
1, 2.
Necros in tune with the wild. Great performance on the rocket. to be able to close this one out. Sad to see for Appa Brawl. Like you mentioned earlier, we are in the lower bracket, so this is where it comes to an end. But Schmungus, those big names, people like Necros, able to move on to that next round.
So we're going to be walking away with our MVP, playing the solo Vanguard Magneto. Certainly can be very stressful against all of the pressure arrayed by things like the Winter Soldier Punisher and Rocket combo. Let's quick look at our stats. As it closes out, you can see that Berg was putting out a considerable amount of damage, but really, like, it seems that Andrew is a very variable player, not just a Venom one trick, and that might make a forced Venom ban straight away a bit more of an advantage for Schmungus than some teams who feel like, oh, we're gonna kneecap Schmungus by using our first ban on Venom. It might actually be a bit of a trap from Schmungus.
Yeah,
I know that Andrew's a very well advertised Venom.
Yeah, I mean, look at what we've seen, right? Pulled up Star-Lord in that first map, now playing things like the Strange, not only being varied in his role, but able to play among a bunch of different roles. Really cool to see for Schmungus. And honestly, just the adaptability across the board. Necros on that Raccoon was a monster. Again, they made a lot of change-ups starting out with triple Vanguard. So if you can be this flexible going forward, it's going to be nice to see if Schmungus can especially upset any of the bigger name teams.
Like, maybe there's some room for it. Previously, Schmungus, I believe, were the #2 team in EU back in the closed beta days. Didn't do amazing against Virtus.pro, it's got to be said, but they were the #2 team. They were an incredibly powerful team, and maybe just got a little bit of an unlucky matchup early on to get knocked down to a slower bracket so soon. We'll have to see how far they can run. They have made it through to round 8, which is, of course, going to probably feature some winners bracket games as well, but there are still a couple more in the lower bracket before we can populate round 8 with all of the ideal matches. I believe down at the bottom, we've got OG Esports versus Zenith. OG, of course, widely considered to be the second best team in EMEA after a Marvel Rivals Invitational, where they had a surprisingly close game with Virtus.pro.
Yeah, we're able to bring us to that close game. Again, we do have them playing in the lower bracket. First, though, we are going to jump back and take a look at those highlights that have been the bane of our existence all day, but won't be the bane of your existence because they are awesome. Let's take a look at how Schmungus took down Appa Brawl.